do is talk about the first part of a 3-part series of videos that we're going to do on the value of eccentric training. So the first thing I want to do is just explain what eccentric training is. So if we just thought of a bicep curl, for example, so if I kind of bring my arm up, so my bicep is shortening, that's called concentric. If I pause at the top, that would be called isometric, and then as I start to lower down, that would be the eccentric component. And then again, the pause at the bottom would be an isometric, and then as the muscle shortened, that would be a concentric. So if we think about big movements such as squatting, the eccentric would be when I start to come down into the squat. If I think about a bench press, the eccentric would when I start to lower the weights down towards my chest. With a deadlift, it would be as I start to lower the bar down to the ground. Those would all be examples of eccentric type training, or the eccentric components of those exercises when you're training. There are a couple different progressions that you go through with eccentrics. Generally, doing a 3-second lowering. So if we think of the bench press, just for ease of sight in the video, as I come down, if I did 3, 2, 1, and then push up, that tempo would be easier than if I did a 7-second lowering, where I did 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then pushed. So if we're thinking about progressing, generally you'll start with a shorter term decel or lowering, and then progress to longer term. You can also then move towards isometric holds, or holding it at the bottom of the lift. And there's a number of other variations that you can do at different points in training. The goal in this first video is really just to explain to you what it is and how it can be used. And we'll talk about over the next 2 videos, really about more specifically the benefits of it. So kind of finishing up on how it can be used and kind of some cautions with it. The first would be typically not going to want to be doing this if you're not a more seasoned, more seasoned fitness age. So if you're brand new to fitness, I would not throw a bunch of weight on your back and start doing this. The other piece of it is you generally are going to use lighter loads. So once you've gotten through that kind of initial beginner stage of getting into the gym, it actually is a very useful technique that we use with a lot of our juniors in particular to force them to really own the movements and go slowly through them. So they can really be valuable for that kind of early intermediate lifter moving on towards more of the advanced stages. And for the athlete or the person who's a much more seasoned athlete, you actually can do super maximal loading. So if you think about if a back squat, you can sometimes put up to 125% of what you're able to do concentrically, meaning if I can do 100 pounds coming down and then up, obviously not a lot of weight, so let's say for an advanced lift, let's say it's 300 pounds, right? So coming down and then coming up, I can handle 300, that's my 1 rep max. What you'll be able to do is actually 25% more than that on the lowering, and then there's a couple different techniques that you can use to get rid of the weight safely, whether it's hooks or potentially maybe flywheel training where you're actually creating more force going up and then kind of having to decelerate what you've concentrically created on the eccentric side. So lots of different tools, modalities that you can use to harness the power of eccentric training. The one caution with it, in season, if you are an athlete, you typically can be a little bit more sore. There is more neural demand when you're doing eccentric training. So you typically will want to space that out and probably do it more so when you're off season, so your nervous system isn't quite as taxed. So hopefully this gives you a quick little brief overview of eccentric training. If you do have any questions on it, by all means, shoot us a note. We actually do have a internal in-service that we've done on this with our staff. Be happy to share that with you. If you are interested, just let us know. But otherwise, be on the lookout for the next 2 pieces where we'll talk about the values of eccentric training, which actually can help to improve your mobility, your overall hypertrophy or the amount of muscle that you have, muscle mass, and then also your power output. So look forward to talking about that more with you in the next couple of videos.